2015 movie Bahubali, The Beginning. In the middle of the forest, a fugitive from the kingdom of Mahishmathi walks with her child on her lap. She is injured and has an arrow stuck in her back. Seeing some soldiers approaching, Sivagami hides near a waterfall spot and waits for the right moment to attack them. After eliminating those men, she spots a village in the mountains and decides to go there for help. On the way, the woman ends up being carried away by the current, and when she realizes that her life is in danger, she asks her god Shiva to save her son. Sivagami's body is already fully submerged when one of the villagers spots the child and jumps into the water to save him. Then the woman is washed away by the current, and Sangha decides to adopt the boy. As the years go by, Sivudu becomes obsessed with climbing the waterfall, even though everyone around him says this is an impossible mission. Despite his dozens of attempts, the young man was never able to realize his goal, but always felt as if something was calling him from above. When he becomes an adult, Sivudu keeps trying to climb, and with each climb he manages to get higher. But he always ends up slipping and falling back. In an attempt to get his son to give up this mission, every day, Sangha fetches water from the river to pour over Shiva's statue. She does this because, according to Swamiji, the village sage, if the woman pours 1,000 jugs of water on the statue, her prayers will be answered. Concerned about his mother's health, Sivudu offers to carry the water jugs in her place, but Swamiji says that Shiva will not accept this. So the young man decides to pull out the metal statue that was stuck in the ground and uses all his strength to carry it to the waterfall. In this way, Shiva will be bathed all the time and no inhabitant of his village will need to fetch countless jugs of water to have his requests fulfilled. Standing under one of the rocks, Sivudu finds a wooden mask that has fallen from the top of the waterfall, and this makes him even more curious about what is up there. While looking at it, Sivudu digs the mask into the sand and comes to the conclusion that it represents the face of a woman, with whom he immediately falls in love. Once again, he goes to the waterfall, determined to accomplish his goal. But this time, when he gets there, his mind projects the image of a beautiful young woman, who guides him to the top. In pursuit, Sivudu manages to overcome all the challenges that come his way and finally reaches the top of the waterfall. While exploring that new world, he hears the cries of a woman and soon spots a beautiful young woman being pursued. In order to help her, Sivudu runs after those men, but is surprised to discover that this seemingly defenseless woman is a formidable warrior. In fact, that was nothing more than a trap to attract the warriors, who are attacked by arrows when they arrive at a certain place. Avantika also uses her sword to eliminate those men, and Sivudu hides so as not to risk being attacked by her. The small group then goes on their way and hides in a cave in the mountains. For many years, Jaya, the leader of the people, has been trying to recover his princess, who was kidnapped 25 years ago and has been held prisoner in Mahishmathi ever since. However, only now does his army have warriors strong enough to save her. Seeing these people wearing wooden masks, Sivudu discovers where this artifact came from. Meanwhile, in Mahishmathi, a swordmaker is going to present his newest masterpiece to the general of that kingdom's army. However, after testing it, Katappa claims that that weapon is not good enough to be used in battle, and it rouses Khan's anger. The royal guest then feels insulted and challenges him to a battle. Wisely, the general accepts the duel and, after a few blows, manages to destroy Khan's sword without causing any injury to him. Ashamed of his arrogant attitude, the man says he has traveled to many countries in the world, but has never seen a warrior like Katappa. Although he is extremely skilled, the general is nothing more than a slave, for his ancestors have sworn that all those born into his clan will serve the crown. Khan then offers to pay for the warrior's freedom, but Katappa refuses to break the oath taken by his family, and the royal guest is impressed by his loyalty. In a few days, the entire Mahishmathi kingdom will be celebrating Balaladeva's birthday. As everyone is busy with the preparations for the big party, Jaya believes that this will be the perfect opportunity to recover the princess and says that he will choose his best warrior to have the honor of fulfilling this rescue mission. Because of her great skill in battle, Avantika is chosen for the job and must avoid being captured at all costs. Otherwise, she will be tortured to death. Balaladeva is a strong and unmerciful man who loves to subjugate people and animals. His power and cruelty are so great that in one of the festivities preceding his birthday, the man starts a duel against a bull just to prove his superiority. When the animal breaks free from its bonds and goes to attack him, the great warrior eliminates it with a single blow. The king is puzzled by Katappa's loyalty, for he knows that deep down the man wishes to kill him. Yet he remains loyal to him. After almost dying to save him, the army general tries to convince Balaladeva to release Devasena, as he has held her captive for 25 years. However, the cruel king states that the woman will remain in her suffering until death. Nevertheless, in the middle of the night, the general goes to free her. However, Devasena asks him not to do so, as her son is about to go and save her. Katappa believes that the child died 25 years ago, but Devasena is convinced that the boy managed to survive and will return very soon. Before leaving on her mission in the Mahishmathi kingdom, Avantika takes part in a hunt together with another warrior from her tribe. The young woman is standing in a tree with the arrow positioned in her hands, just waiting for the moment when her target will appear. The warrior is so focused that she doesn't notice Sivudu's presence behind her. The man then uses a snake to distract her while drawing a picture on her arm. When she manages to get rid of the snake, Avantika comes down from the tree and goes to meet her friend. Only then does she realize the presence of the tattoo and wonder who was responsible for that design. At that moment, she asks her companion to return to the village and leaves in search of her prey. When she meets Sivudu, Avantika attacks him mercilessly and he is almost hit by her arrow. The man tries to talk to the warrior, but is attacked every time he approaches. Therefore, he decides to set a trap to capture her, but the woman is smarter and manages to trick him. She threatens him with her sword and asks where he came from. When he reveals that he has climbed the waterfall, Avantika claims that only gods are able to do this. Sivudu then tells her that he met the woman in his dreams and went there to meet her. Furious, Avantika tries to hit him with her sword. However, while dodging her attacks, Sivudu takes the opportunity to further enhance the young woman's beauty and uses some plants as makeup to paint her face. Seeing her reflection mirrored in the water, the woman is impressed, for she has never seen herself like that before. Sivudu then hands over the mask that she dropped from the waterfall and Avantika realizes that he is telling the truth when he says that he climbed that mountain to find her. The couple spends a few hours together, but the warrior knows she has a mission to fulfill and uses a plant to make Sivudu sleep while she sets off toward her destination. On the way, the young woman ends up being captured by a group of enemy soldiers, but Sivudu soon appears to save her. The man attacks the soldiers and manages to defeat his opponents, even without carrying any weapons. When one of the warriors approaches with his sword ready to kill him, he notices something similar about the young man and kneels before him, calling him Bahubali. Seeing dozens of new enemies approaching, Sivudu decides to flee with Avantika and uses his remarkable strength to move a huge rock and knock down his opponents. At that moment, an avalanche begins, but the couple use a wooden plank to escape and slide down the snowy mountains to safety. Determined to protect Avantika, Sivudu decides to take it upon himself to rescue Devasena so that his beloved will not have to risk her life. Mounted on a horse, the man travels to the kingdom of Mahishmathi and climbs the wall to reach the city. On that day, a great golden statue is being erected in honor of the king. However, the slaves are already exhausted from working so hard that they can barely pull the giant statue. The sculpture was about to crush dozens of men when Sivudu appears and holds the rope. The man begins to pull the statue up and the other servants join in to help him lift the object. Upon seeing his face, one of the slaves soon recognizes him as the son of Bahubali, their former king, and news of the return of the true heir to the throne spreads quickly. When he hears the crowd crying out the name of their savior, the king feels threatened and decides to find a way to contain that emotion. To gain entrance to the castle, Sivudu dresses up as a soldier of the royal army and makes his way to Balaladeva's room without arousing suspicion. However, by dropping a burning chalice on the curtain, the warrior ends up drawing attention to himself and the king orders his guards to capture him alive. While everyone is busy and distracted by the fire, Sivudu runs into the castle courtyard, where Devasena is chained up. Upon seeing him, the woman feels very happy and relieved to know that he is still alive. On the other hand, Sivudu feels nothing special when he meets her, as he has no idea that this is his mother. Then the soldiers arrive to attack him, but Sivudu has the strength of an army and single-handedly eliminates all those guys. When he manages to rescue Devasena, an alarm is triggered and the man uses the royal carriage to escape. Not even the fireballs that the guards throw his way are able to stop him. However, when he reaches the forest, Sivudu is surprised by an attack that throws him into a mud puddle, and soon after, he is struck on the head with a powerful blow. The warrior faints for a few seconds and, when he wakes up, he sees one of the soldiers attacking Devasena, who is unable to defend herself. This makes him deeply angry and Sivudu attacks those men with all the hatred that resides in his heart. Despite taking a few sword blows, the man remains unyielding in battle and eliminates all who dare face him, including Badrudu, the king's younger brother. Just as he was about to eliminate him, Katappa appears and attacks Sivudu, since his duty is to protect the royal family at all costs. The general states that in order to kill the prince, it will be necessary to defeat him first. Then, after defeating the old man, the warrior goes after Badrudu, but is attacked again. Just then, Avantika and his clan appear, and Jaya is relieved to see Devasena again. New members of the royal army appear, so the warriors draw their swords and go to meet them. Suddenly, the people living at the foot of the waterfall show up. and Sangha goes into despair at seeing his kindly son in battle. In an attempt to defeat that powerful opponent, Katappa calls his horse so that he can get the sword that is beside his cell. However, Sivudu rushes in and manages to get the weapon before he does. He then uses the blade to cut off Badrudu's head. Furious that he has failed in his mission, Katappa picks up a metal spear and runs toward his target. However, when he approaches and looks him right in the eye, the general drops his weapon and kneels before him, for he recognizes him as the son of his former king, Bahubali. At that instant, everyone realizes that Sivudu will be their savior and kneels before him, for the man is the rightful heir to the throne. The next morning, Katappa sets out to reveal to the man his true story and how he ended up in the village where he was adopted by Sangha. 50 years ago, his grandfather, Baladeva, created the kingdom of Mahishmathi, and even though he was older, his brother, Bijaladeva, was not crowned king because he was disabled. However, one day, the king died of natural causes, leaving behind his beloved people and the queen, who was 6 months pregnant. Therefore, the king's sister-in-law, Bijaladeva's wife, assumed the function of ruling the kingdom. With her fantastic leadership skills, Sivagami ensured the well-being of her people, but she knew that her kingdom was in danger of a coup d'état, since there was no man occupying the throne. 3 months later, during the night, the queen went into labor and eventually died after giving birth. So Sivagami adopted the boy as her own son and named him Bahubali. Soon after, the woman's nightmare came true and Martanda, one of the members of the royal family, tried to usurp the throne. However, what nobody imagined is that Sivagami was already prepared to deal with this situation and had the help of Katappa to eliminate all the rebels. With her own hands, she eliminated Martanda while holding her son in her lap and took over the throne of Mahishmathi once and for all. Bijaladeva is excited by the idea that his son will be the future king of that country. However, he is surprised to receive the news that the two babies are considered heirs. Sivagami decrees that the one who shows the most valor, wisdom and compassion should be crowned king of Mahishmathi. In the years that passed, although they were raised with the same care and love, it became clear which of the two children was the more honorable and valiant. Both possessed excellent fighting skills, but Bahubali was humble and loved all the residents of his kingdom. One day, during lunch, the young man abandoned the royal banquet to join the soldiers and eat with them, even though he knew that the food was not as good as that offered in the royal quarters. As an adult, Bahubali became an excellent swordsman and his brother also proved to be a formidable warrior. After a battery of tests, the result was that the two princes excelled in both war training and academic tests. Since they were equally skilled, Sivagami will have to make the decision as to which of them will be crowned king. However, before deciding who would ascend to the throne, the queen had to face an unexpected crisis. Sakathudu killed the palace guards and stole Mahishmathi's war secrets. Upon hearing this news, Sivagami sends the princes to deal with this problem. After releasing a carrier pigeon to take the document to the enemy kingdom, Sakathudu jumps off a cliff, because he knows there is nowhere else to run. To save the enemy, Bahubali jumps after him, trusting that his brother would pull the rope that would take them back to the top. However, Balaladeva sees there an opportunity to get rid of his competitor to the throne and loosens the rope for his brother to die. At that moment, the rope gets caught on a rock and the prince was about to cut it when other members of the royal army appear and Balaladeva is forced to save his brother. After being captured, Sakathudu is interrogated and reveals that he sold the war secrets to Kalikeya, an evil king who intends to dominate Mahishmathi. If he succeeds in his mission, all innocent women and children in that kingdom will be eliminated. The big problem is that Kalikeya has an army 4 times larger than Katappa's, which gives him a huge advantage in that battle. Since the enemy army has already gained access to all the war secrets of his people, Bahubali suggests that they use a strategy that exists only in books and has never been tested before. Katappa will lead 5,000 men to protect the entrance to the city by forming a wall. Meanwhile, the brothers will split up to lead 2 groups of soldiers to attack the enemy army, each with 10,000 members. The general then says that his group will be able to repel the attacks for 45 minutes, and in the meantime Kalikeya must be eliminated, because only in this way will his army be dispersed. Before the battle begins, Bijaladeva suggests that the prince who can deliver the final blow to Kalikeya will be the new king of Mahishmathi, and Sivagami approves the idea. When the big day arrives, the queen and her children try to negotiate with Kalikeya with the aim of ending the war before it even begins. However, the man refuses to make any kind of deal and states that after defeating the enemy army, he will have a son with Sivagami, who will be the new king of Mahishmathi. Upon hearing this, Bahubali is furious and the queen says she wants that man alive, even with his arms and legs cut off, so she can make him her prisoner. When the battle begins, Balaladeva and his men shoot thousands of arrows into the enemy army and manage to eliminate hundreds of warriors with a single blow. Bahubali also makes his first attack and uses a giant tarp to cover his opponents. At first, no one understands the purpose of that attack, but the warrior surprises everyone when he shoots a flaming arrow at the fabric that was soaked in alcohol, and the soldiers in the enemy group go up in flames. When they finally manage to reach the wall, the Kalakias try to overcome the defense made by Katappa and his men, but they resist bravely. It doesn't take long before the princes need to start hand-to-hand combat with those barbarians and need to clear the way to get to the leader of that group. Mounted on his horse and with 2 metal spears in his hands, Bahubali advances on the battlefield and Balaladeva accompanies him. However, the prince is riding in a carriage, and in front of him is a war artifact that is making its way through, cutting in half anyone who appears in front of it. Since he received less equipment from Bijaladeva, who clearly favored his son in that battle, Bahubali must use his own sword to make his way to the last group, where Kalikeya is. When the soldiers approach, the cowards use innocent people as a shield to try to stop the attack, but this strategy does not work with Balaladeva, who uses his artifact of war to take the hostages' lives without any resentment. Upon witnessing her son's attitude, Sivagami is outraged and waits to find out what Bahubali's proposed solution will be. To his surprise, the prince refuses to hurt innocent people and orders his soldiers to use crude implements to grab their legs and knock them to the ground. When all the hostages are safely lying down, he allows his men to shoot arrows at the enemies and attacks them with his sword. Suddenly, the attacks made on the wall cease and Katappa wonders what has happened, but soon discovers that the shield is about to be brought down by men using logs. After a few blows, the enemies manage to make an opening in the protective barrier and fight their way through the army to invade the city. For the first time, an enemy flag is raised in Mahishmathi, causing despair among the royalty. Believing that the war is already lost, the soldiers begin to retreat, but Bahubali gives a beautiful speech to remind them why they are fighting that battle and what is at stake if the Kalakias are victorious. Immediately, the prince's words inspire the warriors and motivate them to continue the battle until the last man is left standing. Seeing his brother advancing on the battlefield, Balaladeva rushes to try to accompany him, for he does not want to take the risk that he will be the first to capture the leader of the enemy army. However, when he approaches his target, Kalikeya manages to knock him off his chariot, and as revenge, the prince attacks the elephant so that his opponent falls to the ground. During the duel between these two great warriors, Bahubali arrives to help his brother, but the enemy throws countless bodies in his direction. After shaking off the attack, he uses the gold statue that was torn from Balaladeva's wagon to attack Kalikeya and lands numerous precise blows on the man. Seeing that their leader has been captured, the Kalakiyas decide to flee. Bahubali is about to rip off his enemy's arms and legs to deliver him to his mother when Balaladeva appears and delivers the final blow. Immediately, Bijaladeva celebrates his son's victory and Bahubali feels happy to know that his brother will be crowned king. However, contrary to expectations, Sivagami crowns her son as commander of the Mahishmathi armed forces and Bahubali is chosen to rule that kingdom. Furious, Bijaladeva questions the woman's decision, but the woman says that a king is not judged only by the number of dead, but by the lives of his people that have been saved. Unlike Balaladeva, Bahubali saved countless innocent lives that were taken hostage on the battlefield. Therefore, he is the one who deserves to rule that country. At this time, all the people celebrate the queen's decision and reaffirm their loyalty to the new king. Sivudu is Bahubali's son, which makes him the direct heir to the throne. Upon discovering that his father is dead, the young man asks who was able to eliminate such a powerful warrior and is surprised to discover that it was Katappa himself who stabbed him in the back. So what did you think of this movie? Leave it in the comments below. And if you liked the video, please like and subscribe for more movie recaps. See you next time.